What is up, everyone? It's Nick, and in this video, I'm going to show you 10 instruments you've heard but haven't heard of. What I mean by this is I think these are instruments that you would recognize the sound of. They're common sounds, but you may not know the instrument name. They're more obscure instruments. They could be like folk instruments or newly designed instruments that are invented recently. With a lot of these folk instruments, they may have several names depending on which region they're from and where they're being played. But I'm just going to show you the most common names for these instruments. So let's begin with the first sound. So here's how this is going to work. I'm going to play the sound, and you're going to see if you can recognize the instrument, and then I'm actually going to show you the instrument itself. So the first sound is... Do you know that sound? It's kind of rattly, it's definitely percussive. It is the vibraslap. The vibraslap is a percussion instrument consisting of a piece of stiff wire connected to a wood ball and a hollow box of metal teeth inside. Here's the instrument itself.
And strike it like this.
It has a very distinct rattling timbre and is used from anything from orchestral to rock music to even electronic music. All right, here's the second sound. Let's take a listen. Now, the vibe just got very serious in the studio. It's definitely a tense sound. I definitely would recognize this, and I could say I maybe just guessed that this is in a lot of types of horror movies. The instrument is called the Waterphone. Here's a sample on Splice that's similar to that. Waterphone. It's constructed of a stainless steel resonator bowl with neck rods coming out at different lengths so that you can get different tones by using the bow or even striking with a yarn mallet. It's a pretty tense sound, and it's great for horror and suspenseful sounds, video games, anything like that. All right, so the next sound is this. Do you know what it is? It's the Berimbau. This is a single-stringed instrument that almost looks like a bow and arrow, and it's from Brazil, although it can be traced back to Africa. And it's typically used in capoeira and has a very distinct timbre. I mean, it almost sounds like, I can't think of anything else that sounds quite like the Berimbau. So here it is in action. Very cool. So you can see there's that single string. He's using a thin stick to play the string. He has what's called a kachichi, like a shaker in his hand that's kind of adding extra rattling timbre as he's striking the string. And one of the most important things is the gourd, how he's releasing it from his chest, and the pebble. That's really cool. It's just a very unique instrument. All right, so here's the next instrument. Now this one you might be like, tabla. And I threw this in here like a trick question. It sounds very similar to the tabla, but this instrument is known as the murdungum. The murdungum is a double-sided drum that sounds similar to tabla, but has a little heavier tone. It's from South India and is the main percussion instrument in Carnatic music, which is considered classical music in South India. Now let's take a listen to it in action. After lightly studying this instrument in college, I know that this is a force to be reckoned with as far as technique and just the scope of the rhythmic intensity and complexity that you can really come up with on this instrument. All right, moving on. I think you'll like this next one. And here's another version. Yeah, I think I've heard this in some trap songs, but also it's just kind of like a cartoonish kind of sound. And this instrument is known as the Flexatone. It's a percussion instrument comprised of a small, flexible metal sheet that's struck with two wooden beaters on either end. It's kind of funny in my mind because the pitch can wobble like an LFO. Let's take a look at it in action. The Flexatone, so interesting, kind of weird. All right, so probably one of my favorite instruments on this list. I think you might recognize it, we'll see. Let's take a listen. Yeah, this instrument I think you might recognize as the thumb piano, but it is formerly known as the kalimba or mbira. It is considered a tuned percussion instrument, and it originated with the Shona people of Zimbabwe, but it really has proliferated throughout the world. I've definitely heard it on my fair share of trap songs, EDM even, and pop music as well. So let's take a look at it in what appears to be the backseat of a car. Pretty awesome. Even though it's the thumb piano, you can actually see that this person's using their index finger, plucking upwards to get kind of double strokes. It's really kind of beautiful how complex this instrument can get, even though it's pretty simple. All right, so this next one's probably the newest on the list. Let's take a listen. I love the name of this instrument. It's called the Apprehension Engine, and such a well-fitting name. So this is the newest instrument on the list. It was designed for horror and suspense sounds, similar to the Waterphone, but I would say on steroids. It was originally created by Mark Corvin and Tony Dugan Smith. They were trying to look for an all-in-one instrument that could accomplish just such a wide variety of spooky sounds rather than like maybe using a plug-in or a variety of instruments. They just wanted to make it all in one, and really, it's remarkable. Jeez. All right, we've just got a few more. Here's the next one. Definitely heard that sound. It's very Asian sounding, maybe Chinese, Japanese. And if you're unfamiliar, this is the erhu. This is a two-stringed bowed instrument known as the spike fiddle, or sometimes in the Western world, the Chinese violin or the Chinese two-string fiddle. It has a really unique pitch bend timbre because it doesn't have a fretboard. Let's take a look at it in action. All right, here's the next one. So this definitely sounds like a jaw harp of some kind, and this is known as the Murum. So this is another instrument from South India, the Carnatic music culture, and it is a small metallic jaw harp that you pluck, and it's really unique because you use your mouth structure to form kind of like the filter envelope almost, or the filter type. Let's take a look at this Murum player. So it's very cool. He's using that very fast, what's called solkatu, that like Indian solfege, the percussion language, to enunciate the tones through the Murum. So that kind of fast kind of tongue, or the fast syllable action, is very important. All right, so for the last instrument on this list, it sounds like this. Now you definitely can hear a flute. It is kind of a wooden timbre because it's warmer. You don't think it's metallic. And this instrument is known as the shakuhachi. This is a longitudinal wooden flute originally from China, but introduced to Japan in the 7th century. It has a distinct warm sound and can be found in a wide variety of genres, especially film scores. Here's the shakuhachi in action. Cool, so I searched all those sounds on Splice, found them, put them in a collection, and then I try to apply them to one of my works in progress. This is for fun. Let's just take a listen to it. All right, so those were 10 instruments that I thought you might have heard, but not really heard of. And let us know in this poll at the top right of the screen how many of these instruments you were aware of. Were you aware of all 10? Maybe just like 1 or 2? Let us know in the poll. Please leave a thumbs up on the video if you enjoyed it, and leave a comment with another instrument that you think is familiar enough that we've all heard, but maybe not know the name, not know the terminology behind the instrument. That way we can keep the learning going on in the comments. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. We'll be releasing new videos weekly. And as always, I hope everyone enjoys the rest of your day. I'll see y'all next time.